Hello YouTube, it's me again. I hope you're all doing very well. I just want to apologise on this. I know I said I was going to do a video in March, and trust me, I have tried, but for some reason my phone just kept not working. It kept saying iPhone storage full, despite me deleting nearly everything off my phone. It still wouldn't allow it. Went to the Apple Store and they said that there was no luck. They couldn't do anything about it. So I'm going to try it on this camera, my old Nikon, and hopefully it'll work. I have tried before, but it's always been a little bit jittery. So let's just see how it works then. As you can remember, back in February, I did a video on the top 10 love songs in Goth/alternative. And I thought, just to balance it out a little bit, and I mentioned at the end of that video that I was going to do the top 10 my personal top 10 sad songs in Goth/alternative. These are going to be ranging from different spectrums of the Gothic umbrella terms, so including a bit of doom metal, including a little bit of like Slavic Goth as well. But hopefully you'll like this pick. As said, it's not like the ultimate top 10. These are just ones that throughout my 24 years I decided that these ones that meant the most to me and the most impactful. So without gibbering on too much, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, number 10. This is going towards the gothic-y metal side / doom side, and this is Grey Flower with Sleep Demon Sleep. Now, with Sleep Demon Sleep, I remember hearing this song when I was about 11 or 12 years old, and it was one of those songs, especially when you're at that age when you're so young. First listen to it, and it's basically what you kind of, well, for me, this matter, it's kind of like what you embodied the perfect sad song to be, especially when you've been introduced into more of the gothic metal side more than, say, the actual gothic rock stuff. And this one, I just love the composition. It's just so well thought of. This slow introduction of strings, this constant church bell ringing. Even the vocalist, this nice, dark, brooding, well, typical baritone doom metal style. And even just introduction when the slow chucking, the guitars kick in, the drums, everything like that. It's a well-constructed song, how they balance from like the sadness of the verses, and they kind of live that upbeat, melancholic lyric, and then bring it all the way down. And even the bridge is very well thought of. It's slowed down to a very beautiful extent, and just the way how the instruments bounce on each other is just so beautifully well done. And the lyrics to me are what kind of got to me, because when you're around that age, you always tend to think that no one understands you, or no one can understand how like sadness can affect you, or how you portray sadness. So with these, what I liked about them is many of the lyrical connotations. I mean, let's just use the second verse for example, where it goes, "Dead inside like a dry old sea, I don't want to be part of reality, get more depressed through every day, some call it life, I call it hell to pay." Very poetic. And that's what I like about these lyrics, and the fact he uses the demon metaphor as this possibility of, or not just his sadness, but his inner thoughts as well. Why can't my demons sleep? Why won't they surrender? We can connotate that to many things. We can say through troubled memories, like things he's done bad in the past, or even to the worst extent, his desire to end it all. And the fact that he keeps on fighting this is just a melancholic battle in itself, and that's what I tend to like. And this is just my quick little connotation and analysis of these possible lyrics. You might think something different. If you do, please let me know. But yeah, this is why I had to include Sleep Demon Sleep. Beautiful song, extremely underrated. Okay, number 9. This is going towards like the Slavic goth side, because I wanted to include this one. And this is Morbidi Imenochi with Divanje Dan. Now, the reason why I included this one, because I know many of you won't understand the lyrics or anything like that. Just a quick sum of the lyrics. It's just very much how it's such a beautiful day to die, how even when he looks around his surroundings with the beautiful scenery, it's just still all opaque and bleak to him. And it's just the way how it's all beautifully constructed as well. How you have this very simple drum beat, you have this nice acoustic guitar, and then as soon as the string section comes in, all of a sudden you have this brooding, dark, like sense of dread throughout the song. And even the way how the vocalist brings his vocal style into it, you can tell that this is a very personal and dark song. And this is why I wanted to include this song. Even if you don't understand the lyrics, you'll understand the feel of the song, and it's almost like walking through a cold patch when you're looking for ghosts. It just hits you. It makes you freeze. If you're lucky enough to find the local annotations, then carry on. Unfortunately, I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but trust me, it's a beautiful listen to. The music will be playing in the background as we speak, so hopefully you'll enjoy it. I'll put the links down in the description below. And yeah, I just wanted to include this one, but hopefully you'll like it. And hopefully in the future I'll do like a video on my top 10 Slav Serbian goth bands, because I know I keep introducing them and talk about them, so we'll see. Okay, number 8, and once again we're going towards the doom metal side again. This is Typo Negative with Everything Dies. Now, I remember the first time I truly got into the song was, unfortunately, when a kid at my old secondary school, he ended up taking his own life, and during that time, this is when I was listening to a lot of like songs to try and compensate for that, try to get through that grieving process, and Everything Dies was one of those songs where it was so melancholic and so realistic, the fact that it's true, everyone does die. And when you put in the perspective of Peter Steele, who tried to kill himself many times before, it's one of those where we can all relate to in one way or another. The fact that he talks about seeing his relatives die before him, even like in different stages. So like he says, his mother's so sick she will die. But even just like, when we put in our own perspective, when we see those around us like pass on, we do realise that it's a very existential way of thinking, that everything does die. It's a very nihilistic sense of approach, but it's very true. And even just the way how it's all constructed, I mean, most Type of Negative stuff is slow, but the way how they broke down into the verses after the chorus and introduction, you get that sense of connection through the way how the music is portrayed, and especially the way how Peter Steele sings. Even the music video, if you were to look at the music video, it's got very strong connotations, and the mise en scène is perfectly done, very monochromatic, certain sections. You can sense the isolation loneliness in the music video, and especially when we see the relatives around the table disappear one at a time, and even when the whole band is getting buried from on top. And it's just a song, it's just a whole song and video that brings a lot of emotions, and you can understand why it's probably on my list, because of how realistic the sense of losing someone is. Okay, number 7, this is Last Dance by The Cure. Of all the Cure songs I could have picked, I wanted to choose this one because just the way how it catches you off guard. To me, it's one of the most beautiful ways of describing depression through a song. Just the beginning of where we have this beautiful, almost majorist type of bass riff coming through. You have the drums following afterwards, and then just out of nowhere, you would kind of hear the bass going more into a minor key, and then just the guitars kick in, this nice ethereal, slow, almost stretched out, draining type of sound, where it keeps in suspense. And the instruments in that are enough to keep you in that type of suspense, where you weren't expecting it, and it just hits you very hard. And that's why I want to include this song, because it's just so unexpected. And once you get that deeper sense of into the song, then you'll see why I see it as one of the perfect embodiments of depression, because depression can hit you whenever. And even the way how Robert Smith talks about this in the second person, about, oh, so glad you came, we can spend our last dance together. And even talks around the Christmas time, which to me, the winter season has a stronger connotation to, say, sadness, because of seasonal affective disorder. And to me, it just paints a perfect picture of him missing someone, how he wants that person just to share their last dance together. This person might be deceased, this person may no longer be part of his life, but he still misses her truly. And the whole Disintegration album is just full of beautifully dark and well composed sad songs, but I just wanted to include that one because it was a very, very, very close pick between the other couple of songs. But no, I just wanted to include this one in and just give it a proper listen to, and you'll see that type of connection I did, where it just catches you off guard. Okay, number 6, this is Bauhaus with Who Killed Mr. Moonlight. Now, the difference between this song and the other ones I mentioned is not necessarily the case of the lyrics, but a lot to do with how the music itself affects the emotion. The lyrics to Here Comes the Moonlight are more or less very theatre-based. It's more or less like you're listening to a play. It's very metaphorically written. It is very well constructed within those type of conjunctions and use of words. But if we take a step back and listen to the actual song, we hear this beautiful introduction on the piano, which almost sounds like Sunday Morning by the Bolshoi, just missing that one extra note. But when you first hear this song, especially when you're 12 years old, it freezes you, it catches you off guard, especially throughout the whole segment of Burning from the Inside. It's almost like you've been stopped in your tracks, like you're lost in an alleyway and don't know where to go. This haunting piano riff just keeps on going through. You hear the slow introduction of brass instruments. You hear Peter Murphy, or I think it's even David J on this section, more or less spoken word, singing spoken words about someone shot nostalgia in the back, someone shot at innocence. And we can relate this to ourselves in many ways. The fact that we can relate the metaphoric resemblance of Mr. Moonlight to, say, our innocence, as the band has mentioned. Also this like death of betrayal, this death of a friendship or betrayal of a trust you once had. But even with the chorus where you hear the drums kick in almost this type of tribal-esque, it shocks you. The whole construction of the song, it gets to you. Even with like the strings or even the guitars like creeping in with its reverbed aesthetic feel, and then Peter Murphy belts it out, the chorus over and over again. It's one of those where the lyrics you can relate more, but it's more of a case of the music that tends to chill you to the bones on this one, and that's why I had to include Mr. Moonlight. Okay, number 5, once again we're going back into the Slavic region. This is Vrtloglavica by Strada. Now, Strada, just for a little quick recap, it means the street, and Vrtloglavica in Serbian, it means vertigo. And the first time I heard the song was when I first got into Vrtloglavica, which was a few years ago. I was just listening through the back catalogue, and this song came out of nowhere. And once again, it's very much similar to Last Dance, where you have this beautiful, like, bass introduction. It's very reverbed out. It gives that mysterious, like, sense of direction, like where would this song go? And then the second, like the drum kick in and the guitars kick in, holy hell, it is dark. And to me, it's a perfect example of what depression will sound like. I know I already said this before, but trust me, if you listen to this song, especially for an underground Slavic band, it hits really hard. And even though you may not be able to like translate the lyrics or even like understand the lyrics unless you go through a translation, it's very much like a sense of disbelief about someone, and just that idea of you're so confined in your own loneliness and you've been alone for so long that you forgot what it's like to be loved by someone. And just that sense of fear of rejection, you rather be alone, feel comfort and soothed by your own sorrow than to actually be shown affection by someone. And just a quick translation, I mean, even the beginning of the first verse goes, I do not know why you're attracted to me. It's just that sense that we can all relate to, where we never feel like we're good enough for anyone. And then when we go into the chorus, where he sits alone in his room, the sun is reflecting on the window, he walks on the same old broken streets, Vortex and Vertigo, and it's just a case of not knowing what he wants to do in a situation. He doesn't even know what he wants to do for his own life, and we can all relate to that, especially where the anticipation and what anxiety can give us. It can give us like a vertigo type of nauseated feeling, and then straight after that you have this typical post-punk type of solo where it's just so chaotic amongst the other construction of the song that we can relate to it, because depression is not just a simple sadness. It brings you up, it brings you very dark like parts of your life where you just feel melancholic, and then afterwards it's just chaotic. It just happens, it's destructive, and that's why I wanted to include Vrtloglavica. in this list. Okay, number 4, this is Push the Skyway by Nick Cave. The first time I heard Push the Skyway was when I bought the album back in 2013, and the album itself is just so dark, and I might do a review on this album actually in the future, because it's so well constructed. But when you come to the end of the album and you hear Push the Skyway, after you had this beautiful journey of like sadness and then happiness, and then it's basically like a grief album in my opinion, which is quite odd because Skeleton Tree tends to be more darker and more meaningful. But when you come to the end of the album, you come with Push the Skyway, it's almost like you've been led in the false sense where throughout the album you think that it's all going to go well, but at the end you're back to square one, and all it is just this beautiful ethereal song where there's not much guitars, or I don't think there's even any drums or guitars. A lot of it's just like ethereal sounds coming from the keyboard, and you just hear Nick Cave do his monologues, you hear him doing his open spoken word, and the way how he sings is just so hollow and despair that you relate to it. It doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be sung in any great way or whatever, but the fact it's so honest is what makes it scary. And even with the chorus, the introduction of the female backing vocals, it does get to you. And the reason why I see this as one of the highest sad songs is because you don't know where to go. It leaves you in such suspension. You don't know what to think about. It traps you, mesmerises you, this song. And Nick Cave is right. Some people say it's just rock and roll, but it gets you right down to your soul. And it's true. I mean, the whole like lyrical connotation of this is just about you got to keep on going, you got to push whatever is stopping you away. And it's a positive message through such a dark, constructed song, and that's why I love it. It's so misleading, but so melancholic, and that's why it's included on this list. Number 3 is The Eternal by Joy Division. Now with this one, this is a very direct song because Ian Curtis obviously wrote close before he died, before he killed himself. And with The Eternal, when you hear this song, especially for the lyrical connotations, you can tell this was his cry for help. And if you ever need to talk to anyone, or if you ever feel like this type of thoughts, then please talk to someone, talk to your friends or family, or even talk to me. I'm more than happy to listen to anyone to help them through a rough time. We've all been through that, and I'm more than happy to help. But if we just use the lyrics for a moment before we get into the instruments, it's a very strong cry. It's a very poetic way of basically saying goodbye. And that's why when I first heard this song, I listened to this for about 2 months on repeat. It was so meaningful and so dark that it was the lyrics that kind of got me. Where it goes, "Race to the glory of a loved one's now gone." He talks about how his childhood was wastefully spent. And he just sees everything as just so oblique that he doesn't necessarily have a obtuse perception of the way how he looks. And the fact he called the eternal, he probably talked about his eternal memory of how he sees things, or how we will see his music when he dies. But yeah, I'll definitely send the link below. And even if you read the lyrics for yourself, you might get a different perception, but it's definitely worth looking at. The instruments are very much similar to Vrtloglavica, where we have this like bass introduction. You don't know where it's going to lead, but the second the piano hits in this one, this over reverb piano, and with just a lack of guitar, it has a very dark, somnolent feeling. And this is why I like pianos, because pianos tend to bring more emotion than say a guitar can ever could. And I've got a very soft spot for pianos. But it's just the way how you have this continuous dark minor keyed riff, and then you have this major S type of arpeggioed riff over it. And in just the use of sound effects, like this hissing sound you hear through, it catches you off guard because it's not part of an all-structured song. But it's one of these where you can't listen to it and just see it as a structured song. You see this as just someone telling a story. And to me, that's why The Eternal is on this list, and that's why it's third on this list. Number 2 is Asleep by the Smiths. Very similar to Eternal, big soft spot for the pianos, and the piano itself is more in a major key, which you wouldn't tend to find, and it balances out through the use of majors and minors. But it's the way how Morrissey just sings this song, and you can tell that he is bored with life, and you can tell he went through a very dark period in this time, because he talks about how he just wants to go to bed, he just wants to be sunk to sleep and not wake up anymore. And we've all been like that, especially when we've had a very dark breakup or a very bad breakup, and we just want to be left alone. We just want to have that notion of just leave me alone, I just want to lay here and just be forgotten about. A very dark stage within the 5 stages of grief. And to me, this is a very melancholic piece because of how honest it is. It's not got any Morrissey-esque type of flair in it where there's a hidden message about politics or anything like that. But to me, the way how I read it is he's genuine about this. He's genuinely sad about it. He doesn't want to be here anymore. And it's the honesty that we all have with each other, especially when he goes, deep down in the cell of my heart, I truly want to go. There is another world, there is a better world, there must be. And we all know that the world is crap. We all have this notion that the world isn't great, and we see it through cynicism and nihilism, and even just an overall existential point of view. And we can relate to this. I mean, there must be a better world than this if you're religious or whatnot. But just the way how Morrissey portrays it is, it's almost like a final calling, where he uses this, and I think he uses a song like this to help people go through a sad time, to help them push through it. It's almost like the irony of using a sad song to get more sad than to get better. It's like a big push for the 5 stages of grief, where you listen to a sad song to help you realise that there's more to it. And I think that's what Asleep does. I can see why that people say it's a very dark and sad song, especially when you blend the lyrics and the music together. And number 1, my ultimate sad song is Home Is Where by the Shadow Project. Shadow Project was one of Ross Williams' pieces after Christian death, and this is off their final album before Ross Williams killed himself, unfortunately. And this is the last song on the album which he sings, and I think this might be the last song he actually wrote as well, which makes it more sad. We introduced with this beautiful acoustic guitar. I think it's in the C key to begin with, and then this beautiful balance of C and A minor is just a beautiful construction for sad songs and guitars. And then you hear Ross Williams' howling, haunting vocals. Give me back my smoking pistol, I feel lost so far from home. Give me back my smoking pistol, I've got problems of my own. And when you realise that this is Ross Williams' last song, you can sense this is his call for help. This is his cry saying that he doesn't want to be here anymore, and that he was going to die. And the idea of using Home Is Where, he doesn't know where his home is. He'd never felt at home with anyone or any place, and I can understand where we've all been through, being a massive Ross Williams fan since I was about 11. You can understand when you get into Ross Williams' mind that he was a very disturbed character, he was a very lonely, isolated character who had a lot of disbelief about himself, he had very low self-esteem, and he basically wanted to project his sadness any way he could, his angst and the way how he felt through his music. And I think Home Is Where is one of those songs where, especially when you listen very carefully, where you have the slow type of drum beat, the slow treble-S type of drum beat that we hear throughout the other songs on this list, and then this beautiful chaotic guitar. It's once again mixing and adapting through different songs I've already mentioned onto this. They share certain connotations and certain codes which a lot of these sad songs do have. And even the way how he almost like cries out these lyrics is just so haunting, so mellow. But the fact it's so like amped on reverb, it gives that isolation feeling a lot more sense to it. And that's why, for me, Home Is Where is on this list, because it was one of those songs, especially when I was going through a bad time myself, it was the one song that I always used to listen to help me go through the bad time, just to let out all the sadness, to help me see the light. And hopefully these songs would help you in this type of sense. As I said, if you ever need to talk to anyone, I'm more than happy to talk to anyone. Just reach out through my social media, I'm more than happy to speak to you on any case, what's bothering you. I hope you enjoyed these songs, I hope you enjoyed this list, I hope you enjoyed this video for that matter. I'll try my hardest to do the next couple of videos soon. Hopefully my camera and phone doesn't fuck up on this one, and I hope that I see you very soon. Once again, sorry about the lateness, love you all, bye.